The other thing is that he also has 2 copies of Lingering Souls. That card's actually really annoying for Rug Delver as well.
We've seen Rug Delver go towards a card like Sulfur Elemental because that card's so annoying. Take a look at Mann's deck list very quickly here when we do get to the sideboard. It's not in there. So players are going to be underway here. We do start at semifinals. Don't forget, after this game, we'll bring it back to the booth. Osip will have a question for you. Y'all have the rules. And we will prepare to give you guys 6 months of premium. As Bernal's going to sacrifice the fetch land right away because he has access to the deck list and he does not want to get stifled.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity for Joe to kind of, because he's on the play. If he was on the draw, suddenly things could be a lot more complicated if Steven had a mana untapped. But Joe Bernal wisely plays around Stifle and Wasteland. And Steven's going to lead with a Ponder. That is, when you're playing against Rug Delver, you love to see that. You don't want to see that turn 1 Delver Seekers, or even a turn 1 Nemomongoose. That deck is a lot less threatening when they don't have one of their 1-drop creatures.
Ponder's going to shuffle here too. So everything going great for Bernal right now.
This was kind of the difficult thing for me when I was playing Rug Delver. I always felt like when I was on the draw and my opponent was playing like an Esper type deck, I always felt like I was very far behind, particularly if they led with a Deathrite Shaman or they had basics. I just felt like it was very difficult for me to kind of overcome that if I was in the draw, particularly if I didn't lead with a Delver sequence. It can be very difficult. I've even heard some Rug Delver players, I think Drew Levin might even wrote an article where if you don't have a 1-drop in your hand, you pretty much have to mulligan.
Yeah, it's too important. It's just way too important. You see, Steven Mann has 2 copies of Wasteland in his hand. Those are not going to help. Floodstring going to search out basic planes for Bernal. He's going to sacrifice right away and then simply pass the turn back. No Stoneforge or anything like that. Just simply does not want to get ruined by a Stifle.
And the real problem when you're playing against a deck with a lot of basics is that a lot of the permission out of Rug is reliant on your opponent not having a lot of mana in play. You know, it really relies on your Stifles and your Wasteland putting pressure on your opponent's mana. Otherwise, Daze, even Spell Pierce, isn't nearly as effective. So that's the other problem when you're dealing with a deck with a lot of basic lands, is that suddenly they can kind of cast their spells free and clear, and you don't really have a lot of ways to interact with permanents. You have like 4 copies of Lightning Bolt. Some decks have like Chain Lightning, Fork Bolt, but you don't really have a lot of ways to just deal with like a 4 toughness creature, or even like a 2 toughness creature. You have to waste a Lightning Bolt on it. So it can get very problematic if they start just dropping permanents into play.
Brainstorm is where Mann is going to start his 2nd turn of the game. Again, 2 Wastelands here, which are going to be pretty useless. Stifle not going to be so great either. He's going to have to put a couple of cards back. He did find a fetch land, but you can just see the texture of Steven's hand. We know he has a fetch land. You see the 2 drops, you see the 2 Wastelands. Not a lot of good stuff going on over there.
Well, the Wasteland could get turned on. I mean, obviously there's just the Plains and Island play, but we were talking about it, you know, Joe still does need like double blue for True Name. He needs double white for Supreme Verdict. So eventually he's going to probably have to use a Tundra or a Scrubland or something. So even though he'll likely be able to cast the spell, Steven could still use that Wasteland to kind of keep him off from casting other spells in the future. So Wasteland could get turned on here. Let's just see, because even if Joe does get a Swamp in play, he'll have access to Swamp, a black, white, and blue, but he can't really cast True Name. He can cast Stoneforge, which is huge. But let's see what Joe decides to do here. He still doesn't have any pressure in play. He's not really in a rush to. He doesn't really care. Steven's not really pressuring him right now.
Yeah, Mann just going to, Bernal just going to play an Island, pass the turn back. Mann's going to untap, sacrifice the Scalding Tarn on his upkeep. Go get himself probably a Tropical Island. Could go to the top of the deck to grab it since he put 2 back, but there we go. Going to grab one of those, shuffle up. Again, he has not drawn a card yet. It is upkeep, and we'll see after he draws his card what he wants to do for his 3rd turn. Also, keep in mind, in his hand, he does have a Delver Secrets along with a Stifle. He chose not to play Delver that turn simply because he kind of, I imagine he wanted to try to stifle a fetch line there. But was unable to do that. Stifle a fetch line, stifle a Stoneforge if Bernal played one. If he was trying to play around Days, all that good stuff.
So Bernal does have a Swords to Plowshare to deal with a potential Tarmogoyf for Delver Secrets. Bernal has 3 basic lands in play. That's more basic lands than I've seen during the Standard Open yesterday. I haven't seen a deck play 3 basic lands in a while.
So, man, I mean, Mann's got a Tarmogoyf and a Delver. Yeah, I'm not too surprised to actually see him lead out with this. This is a pretty nice Swords target, and because your Delver's so cheap, you can play a Delver and then do some other things. So Mann says, all right, that's fine. You can take care of my Tarmogoyf. We'll get the power and toughness check there to see exactly how big it is. There's an instant, there's a sorcery, and there's a land. So it's a 3-power Tarmogoyf. So Mann's going to gain 3 life before passing the turn back over to Bernal. You saw that Mann did play a Wasteland for the turn as well, so Joe is well aware that, okay, my non-basic's not that great. there is a Flooded Strand. We'll see how Joe wants to use this, if he does at all. And now it looks like this is a Stoneforge Mystic.
So Stoneforge, like you mentioned, the search ability could get stifled, but fortunately for Joe, it looks like he did draw the Batterskull. So if Steven does try to stifle the search ability here, Joe's like, all right, fine, I already have my Batterskull, so it doesn't really matter. And once Batterskull enters play, there's really nothing the Rug Delver that can do.
Yep.
So Steven deciding what he wants to do. He has a number of options. He has Force of Will, obviously. He could decide to just force the Stoneforge Mystic. The tricky thing here is, do you want to waste the force? Do you want to use a stifle on it? If you use the stifle, if he already has a piece of equipment, you're kind of screwed that way. So I think if you're Steven, you're really considering just forcing this right here.
Yeah, I think it also has to be aware of like a card like Flusterstorm and stuff like that too. If I force, is my force even going to resolve? Now he's force removing Stifle. He could have force removing Spell Pierce. So this is where things get maybe a little hairy.
Yeah, this stifle could be really good. Oh, it is a Flusterstorm.
That's a Flusterstorm. That's where things are yucky.
I was going to say, so Joe does have a copy of Counterspell in his hand, but if he tried to sack that Flooded Strand, Steven could actually stifle that activation. So looks like there is currently 1, 2, 3 copies of Flusterstorm on the stack targeting the Force of Will.
Not a great spot to be in if you're Mann. Again, he could have removed Spell Pierce to the Force of Will and held Stifle. He chose not to do that. And now he might have to Force of Will again using the Spell Pierce. Or is he okay with letting this resolve, is the question. And again, yeah, he's got to use the Force of Will now, removing the Spell Pierce. And so now Steven Mann's hand is a Delver of Secrets and a Wasteland.
Yeah, and I think if you're Joe, you're like, all right, fine, I just 2-for-1 you twice.
Yeah, that exchange
and
is
I
amazing.
still have gas in my hand in Snapcaster Mage and Batterskull. So, and he also has a counter spell.
Yeah. Mann's draw for the turn was a Lightning Bolt. Not the best, that's for sure. Kind of ironic that he picked up a Lightning Bolt after this huge fight over the 1-2. Mann now going to play a Delver of Secrets. And presumably just pass the turn back. Not going to show another Wasteland. Not that it's going to do very much anyway. Bernal going to take a draw here. Looks like it may have been a Tree Nemesis. Not positive on that.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, it definitely looks like a True Name here. Maybe he wants to wait until he gets to 5 mana so he can cast True Name with Counterspell backup here.
Yeah, but I mean, the question is, what cards does he have to play around, right? Like, does he have to play around Force Will plus another blue card? I think that's relatively unlikely. He's going to go with Snapcaster Mage here.
Yeah, I like this
Target
play
of
the
Swords.
most.
Sure.
This play is the best play. You don't have to sacrifice your Flooded Strand yet. The thing about Flooded Strand is he has islands he can get, but he probably wants to go for a black source. So and when he has to cast something, and he doesn't want to expose him to the Wasteland.
What you see here is just a player grinding the other player down. Joe is just 2-for-1, 2-for-1, 2-for-1. You're out of cards. That's all he's doing.
And that's really the Rug Delver deck. The Rug Delver isn't about card advantage. It's about tempo.
Yep.
And if you can't get tempo on your opponent, you're kind of forced into these really awkward situations.
Yep. No, Mongoose is going to come down. 5 cards in the graveyard right now for Mann. Mann just has to pass the turn back. Trinity Nemesis is going to be placed on the stack here. Mann, all I can do is shrug his shoulders and say, yeah, that resolves. There's no way for Mann to get that off the table. And now things are going to get really bad here.
Yeah, Steven has a Lightning Bolt. He has a Wasteland. So he can try to get Threshold to race the True Name Nemesis. But now Snapcaster is going to come in. So I think Steven can't win this race currently.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing he could do, you mentioned, he could get a little crafty here and go, oh, okay, I'll bolt you. I'll waste on your Flooded Strand. You get to sacrifice that. My Mongoose is a 3-3 now because I have Threshold. Eat your Snapcaster Mage. But in the grand scheme of things, does that really matter? Is that going to win him the game? I don't think so.
I like that play, though. I mean,
it's a line that's available. I'm not saying it's a great one, but it's there.
The thing is, if you make that play, all things being equal, True Name can't start attacking because you don't win that race.
Sure.
So obviously Bernal has a Batterskull, but if you're Steven, you have to kind of figure out, what do I do here? So Steven here, I think, deciding what he wants to do here. Again, he's willing to, I don't really think, losing a Wasteland here is really not that big a deal. I kind of like that play, actually. You drop him to 15. That means 5 hits from the Mongoose. Suddenly, you kill the Snapcaster. True Name can't attack unless you have some other play in your hand.
I mean, he may have to just get that lucky to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and if you have to get that lucky to win, I suppose it's worth a shot. Not going to make that play, however, and that's not too surprising. I mean, it's a pretty risky play. He picks up a Daze, which is, again, not the best draw. But as you mentioned right at the top, man, this is all about tempo.
Yeah, and you get to these points in the game where you're just like, ugh, all these cards are drawing are so bad because my opponent has like 4 lands in play.
Yeah, and you saw Bernal just over the course of the game, play a fetch land, search for a basic, go. Play a fetch land, search for a basic, go. Play my 3rd land, go. I'm in no rush. You're not doing anything. I don't have to do anything if you're not doing anything. So I don't have to run my cards into your dazes, your stifles, or your wastelands.
Yeah, a kind of perfect. In fairness, it's a really perfect scenario for Bernal. He was on the play. He's able to sack his lands to play around Stifle early on to get the basic lands. He's able to set up 3 basic lands in play. So it was never his mana was never under any pressure whatsoever.
Another Trinity Nemesis here from Joe. And, boy, I mean, Steven can actually, in a roundabout way, counter this. And it's always fun to watch a Rug Delver player do this, where they wasteland the fetch land, they say in response, I'm going to sacrifice. And man says, all right, with the fetch on the stack, I'm going to daze your true name. That's about the best that I can do to take care of that.
Hey, it works.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever works.
It does get the job done. And I think, Mann is going to pick up the Volcanic Island to do that there. I think maybe he considered the Tropper potentially hard casting it, but he says, all right, give my Volk back. I'm going to get a basic Planeswolf Bernal. Also, no black mana, as True Name's going to come into the red zone. But no Mongoose is a 3/3 right now, so.
Yeah, and he still has that Lightning Bolt. So it's going to make things pretty tricky. Joe's effectively at 15, or 14 rather, with that Lightning Bolt if that resolves. So Nimble still could technically win this race.
I mean, a hard race to win. I mean, that kind of assumes that your opponent has nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what you have to assume.
Also,
right?
True Name could just stop attacking. There's a Delver of Secrets.
All right, that's good.
It's going to take a certain set of cards.
It's going to take, yeah, because even if he draws land, that means he can just cast Batterskull. So it's going to be a weird secret. It's going to be like running, I don't even know what it could. It's basically going to have to be like multiple Fluster Storms, I guess.
All right, Volcanic's going to take down Snapcaster Mage, pass the turn back. I mean, Mann's going to try to find the way to get back into it, but there's a land for Bernal. It's a scrub land.
Yeah, and Mann has no cards in his hand, I believe. So it looks like that Batterskull is going to come down. I wouldn't be surprised if Steven concedes immediately.
There's True Name. There's Batterskull. All you can do is shrug the shoulders, pass the turn back. I think he might take one or two more draw steps. Take a look on the top card with Delver.
And it
doesn't
doesn't
yeah. And he knows. So he's like, all right, I'm beat. I can't beat True Name plus Batterskull. So he's going to pick it up, pack it in. Joe Bernal going to win game number 1 here over Steven Mann. That's for Stoneblade up a game over Rug Delvers. We're going to bring it back to the booth because it's trivia time. You have the question. I have the rules, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Are you sure you're ready for the question?
I'm always ready. Yes.
You're always ready. All right. Well, trivia time, of course, here. So we will explain the rules, which, of course, is you guys are going to get your hashtag ready, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. Most of going to ask you a question, tweet with the answer. Again, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round, where you do see Joe Bernal is up a game here with his innovative Esper Stoneblade deck. So fire away for 6 months. Don't make it too hard.
Okay, so next weekend, the Open Series is going to Providence for Standard and Legacy Open. The weekend after that, however, we'll be holding the Invitational. Which city will the Invitational be held?
I'll give you a hint. It's in the best state in the country. If you can name the city where the invitation, if you can name the city where the Invitational is going to be in 2 weeks, hashtag the answer SCG Premium.
In fairness, though, if you do look up a location online and you discover the city, you might be a little confused because it doesn't really tie to what Cedric just said.
It's the best
but
city.
Nevertheless,
it's the best state in the country.
Just be warned.
However, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. We'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. There's no debate to be had here. It's the best state in the country. Okay, so back to the match. We'll take a look at our sideboards here. We'll take a look at Mann since he's going to be on the play. 3 Grafdigger's Cage, a Dismember, a Flusterstorm, 3 Pyroblast, a Spell Pierce, 4 copies of Submerge, 2 Rough Tumble. The thing here is there's not a lot of great options here for Mann. Rough and Tumble, that's not going to do it. Submerge, no, your opponent doesn't have green in their deck. Spell Pierce, meh. It's not very exciting. Same thing can be said for Flusterstorm and Dismember. I think Pyroblast is good. A lot of good blue cards here. Dismember can take care of Batterskull or Stoneforge Mystic or Snapcaster Mage, so that one's fine. And then 3 Grafdigger's Cage don't matter. So realistically, we're looking at 4, maybe 5 cards.
Yeah, this honestly, he doesn't have a lot of cards to bring in. And if I was Mann, I'd be more concerned with what Joe is bringing in against me because Joe has some really, really problematic cards to contend with. I mean, we're talking about Back to Basics, Rest in Peace. Those are two enchantments that can be very, very problematic for Rug Delver. Not to mention that he has an Enlightened Tutor that he can actually use to search for those enchantments as well. So those three cards are all things that I could definitely consider bringing in, along with another copy of, I'm sorry, the 4 copies of Thoughtseize. I'd actually consider bringing those cards in too. Although given how the tempo nature of the match, I'm not sure Joe wants to do that necessarily. And the fact is, his Game 1 deck is pretty good against Rug Delver. I don't think he has to do that much against them.
His Game 1 deck is good. His Game 2 deck gets better.
Yeah. It's really, I like the Silver Bullets of Back to Basics, Rest in Peace, and an Enlightened Tutor kind of search for them.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like all that stuff a lot.
I'm kind of interested in whether or not he's going to bring in Thoughtseize, simply because, given that you're playing against a tempo deck and you're on the draw, maybe Thoughtseize doesn't make as much sense.
Sure.
But if you know your opponent's bringing in like 3 copies of Pyroblast and Spell Spears and Flusterstorms, maybe you just kind of want to trim some of your blue counter spells for more proactive black discard to sort of force through your spells. It's kind of a toss-up, because I think Flusterstorm is great against any, like a Pyroblast. Like if you want to force through a Back to Basics, Flusterstorm is a great way to do that. Thoughtseize could be another way to kind of force through a card. So it really kind of depends on whether or not Joe thinks that the Pyroblast is going to be a major issue. But either way, though, I think Joe has just such a good main deck against Rug Delver that he's not that much concerned.
Riley Curran up a game here over Thomas Herzog. Combo Elves up a game over Maverick. I'm not too surprised. I feel like that's a matchup that is favorable for Combo Elves. However, as you mentioned, there's a lot of interaction that Curran can have, or that Herzog can have back and forth. So
yeah, I thought Game 1 is probably in the Elves' favor, and after board, Canonist can be problematic, Zell's Persecution can be problematic. But again, Elves, if they know what they're doing, it's just such a robust combo deck. And unless you've tested against it a lot, you could also just make a lot of mistakes against them.
We'll be underway in Game 2 here in just a moment. Again, we'll announce our winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. Both players taking a look at the sideboards here for each player, figuring out what they want to do. Joe Bernal has been playing a deck like this for some time now. He's always playing some sort of Esper strategy, or heavy blue, white with a small splash of black. He's got Lingering Souls and True Names and all that good stuff. But he's always been heavy on the basics. And this deck doesn't really get talked about a lot. The fact that he does this, we've seen him top eight a lot of tournaments with this strategy. I think about Columbus, where, he basically got, well, but not even basically, he got one-outer by Adam Franzi with a Pyroblast when he, had a Notion Thief in play against a Gristlebrand. He was going to win the race, everything. I mean, and he was playing a very similar deck to that then. He's playing, this strategy with all these basics and access to back to basics. And, that game just felt like, how is Stephen Mann going to win? I don't get to stifle. I don't get to daze. I don't get to use any of my tricks and put a tempo game together. It seems like a really good matchup for him, for Bernal, this particular Delver deck, and I wouldn't be surprised if all the Delver decks are.
Yeah, honestly, I was really impressed when I saw his list, just because it kind of seemed really perfect from what you're trying to do conceptually in this format. I mean, you have cards like Supreme Verdict and Engineered Explosives, which can be very, very good against creature-based strategies. And then you have cards like Flusterstorm, Counterspell, and Forcible, which are very, very good against combo decks. So, and you still have a very powerful card in Stoneforge Mystic and True Name Nemesis. So it kind of seems like he's kind of riding this fence of just doing everything you kind of need to do. Obviously, there's potential for you to draw like the wrong card. Like maybe if you draw an Engineer Explosives against Show and Tell, it's kind of silly. But again, you have Brainstorm to kind of fix that. And I don't know, it just feels like the deck is just very robust against a lot of different strategies in the format. And after sideboard, he kind of shores up all the matchups that he might be afraid of. So I'm with you. I kind of like this deck a lot.
Kind of feels like a rock deck, but with less problems. Like,
with rock, but you're with playing blue.
Yeah.
So that makes it immediately better.
Yeah. Rock with Brainstorm. Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
I don't, he can basically stop himself from drawing the wrong half of his deck. As we're underway here in game number 2, you've got a Polluted Delta searching out a Volcanic Sea. Is it a Delver to start, maybe?
Shroud kind of mentioned that, too, where, having access to Brainstorm is great when you're trying to go for a silver bullet strategy, because if you draw the card in the wrong situation, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of shuffle it away eventually.
Looks like Bernal has no interest in letting this resolve. He's going to forcibly removing a blue card to see if Mann has some sort of daze type effect. You see Mann's hand. He's got 3 bolts, a ponder. He's going to have to, this is going to get countered. I think Mann's strategy this game would have been pretty aggressive with all those bolts, a ponder, and then a spell pierce. It was going to be a protect the Delver type game.
And you know, you can kind of tell that Bernal has played this matchup a lot because he knows that Delver, that turn one creature is very, very important and for Rug Delver. We were kind of talking about it in the first game. Some people even say if you don't have a one drop, you just mulligan the hand. That's how important it is. So Bernal obviously knows that and wisely just counters that card right there.
Now you see him brainstorming right now in his main phase on turn 1. Not even setting up like a perfect brainstorm with the fetch land. Part of the reason I think he's doing this is because he wants to ensure this brainstorm is going to resolve. Because think of it this way: if that Force of Will didn't get dazed, that means my opponent doesn't have daze.
Yeah.
Now there's a chance my opponent has a Spell Pierce or a Pyroblast, but my brainstorm resolving is pretty important. So he's just going to cast it right now. No, he doesn't get to do the theatrics of the fetch land and make it a perfect brainstorm and that stuff, but that doesn't matter. It's fine.
So it looks like triple brainstorm, double ponder, and he drew a Nimble Mongoose. He can't cast it currently, but he's going to be able to ponder here. He's going to try to find a green source of mana. Let's see what he draws here. Looks like can't quite make it out, but really just wants a green source so he can resolve that Nimble Mongoose. Nimble Mongoose still an effective threat, can't be targeted. Unfortunately, it looks like Bernal does have one of his engineered explosives.
Whoever wins this match is playing against Riley Curran.
Combo L's.
Yeah. And he won 2-0. Pretty quick, too.
And if you're Riley Curran, you are desperately hoping that Stephen Mann somehow manages to win this match, because I do not think he wants to play against a deck like Esper Stoneblade.
Is it the Engineered Plague he's scared of?
It's probably the Engineered Plague. It's probably the Enlightened Tutor that can search for Engineered Plague. It might be the Engineered Explosives. There's a lot of engineered stuff in his deck that he's not happy with.
That might not be fun to play against. Same as GT, maybe the Supreme Verdicts and the Swords and the Snapcasters. Yeah, it wouldn't be great. Wouldn't be great. Here's an island for Bernal.
Island, yet again.
Yeah, just going to pass the turn back.
Not even searching for them, just 2 basic islands. And he has access to Counterspell now.
This is good, honest magic. That's what this is. Got to sacrifice Polluted Delta, Will Mann. Likely search for a tropical island and get that Nimble Mongoose on the table in just a moment.
Yeah, Nimble Mongoose. He also drew a Tarmogoyf for the turn. And we know he still has some number of bolts and a ponder.
All the bolts.
All the bolts. Joe Bernal does have a counterspell, like the actual, not a counterspell, the counterspell. And it looks like Steven has a Spell Pierce as well, so he can lead with Nimble Mongoose here, and then he has Spell Pierce backup.
We might have a little fight over this one. Yeah, he says I need my Nimble Mongoose. So Spell Pierce is going to beat that counterspell in a fight.
All right. So I know it looked like Joe did draw a True Name Nemesis off his original Brainstorm. I wonder if he has a 3rd mana and he's going to try to cast it this turn.
He's just going to go, looks like, with an Engineering Explosives for 1 instead.
Yep.
He's got no interest in taking any damage, you can tell.
Yeah, so Steven just has a hand of 3 bolts and a Tarmogoyf. So really not able to put any kind of pressure on Joe. Joe was always able to find an answer.
This matchup seems real hard for Rug.
Yeah.
Like, real hard.
Joe just has too much mana to work with, and Steven's just not able to capitalize on anything.
And given that Joe's played against Rug so many times, he's not going to run in again to Daze or Stifle or any of the nonsense. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, just the way Joe's playing this match, it just tells me that he has a lot of familiarity with it. And you're not going to catch him off guard. And here, we could even see a True Name Nemesis now, because I know he has it. And now he can even play around Daze, because he drew a land for the turn.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. With Fledge Trend out there, he's just going to say, all right, I'm going to play. One of the things that Joe could have done, he could have sacrificed Fledge Trend first before doing that, because there's the potential for Mann to say, Daze this. All right, sacrifice my fetch on, Daze it again.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if your opponent just goes Daze my True Name, it's like, cool. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's what Joe did last game. He's like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep 2-for-1 you, and eventually I'll just deal with your 1 threat.
Yep. So True Nemesis is in, and now that's the roadblock for the Tarmogoyf. If that can't come through, Gataxian Probe could show us what Bernal's working with. I'm not sure that Mann wants to know, though. I would be a little scared to know what's in Bernal's hand.
So Bernal's not in total control just yet. I mean, True Name Nemesis is basically just going to be resorting as a blocker right now, although he does have a Brainstorm and a Snapcaster, so still has plenty of gas left in the tank. Mann has, he drew to draw Gataxian Probe, multiple bolts, but not that much mana to work with, as is typical with Rug Delver.
Oh, there's Snapcaster and Brainstorm. That's 2 really nice cards to have left.
Yeah, and I believe, I want to say he has a Swords to Plowshare. No, he used a Force of Will and Engineer Explosive to kill the 2 creatures. That was the last game. So Gataxian Probe nets him a Polluted Delta, and are we going to get a pass back here? Yes, we are.
Bernal's going to take his turn. Again, we know he has a Brainstorm. We know his Snapcaster Knight just picked up a land. We'll see if he wants to lead with Brainstorm, if he has any reason to. Kind of up to him, really, what he wants to do. He's not in pure control of the game yet, but he's certainly pretty far ahead. Those bolts in Mann's hand are basically useless.
Yeah, just getting to resolve a true name nemesis, knowing it's going to stick around. There's nothing that man can do. It's just a nice security blanket.
Yeah. 3 cards here for Bernal. You see he's going to shuffle his hand, so he does not give any information away about what cards he's putting back. Looks like it's going to be a Tundra and something else. Force of Will and X in the hand. Imagine he did keep the Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, so I believe it was a Tundra and no, there's the Flash.
Yeah. So Snap and Force. That's the grip. He says, I want to sacrifice on the upkeep. Do you have a Stifle, or is this okay? You have to imagine he's going to search for planes here, potentially an island, so that he can start to set up the play of Snapcaster plus Counterspell.
Yeah, Snapcaster Counterspell. That would be a good turn, but unfortunately, Steven did have the Stifle.
Steven just has to play the Stifle on the Flooded Strand, draw Tropic Island, pass the turn back. You see Triple Bolts in Trop for Mann. Bernal's going to draw his card. We know he's got Force plus Snap. Now he's going to play Tundra.
And he's going to pass back. Yeah, Steven doesn't have a Wasteland, so that play of Snapcaster Counterspell could still work. Although Steven did draw a Stifle, so he can actually stifle the Snapcaster ability.
Bernal going to draw a card. He knew about this one as well. And this may be a Brainstorm. Maybe not. Let's see what this is going to be.
It looks like we're going to
snap
Snapcaster Brainstorm. That won't resolve, I don't think. Or that will resolve, but I think we're going to see a Stifle.
Yeah, Snap will resolve. I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a Stifle on this. He's got nothing else.
Yeah, I don't think you want to let him Brainstorm.
The problem here is just not if you're Steven, you're trying to think of, okay, what do I do to get myself out of like this situation that I'm in? Like, we're well into the mid game here. This is exactly where Bernal wants to be. This is not where Rogue Delver wants to be. Because this is a horrible spot to be in. You know, a lot of your cards now, you know, this is your best use for Stifle. This isn't how you want to use Stifle.
Well, the thing is, given that he has 3 bolts in his hand, if he draws another Goyf, it's actually not the worst thing for him. I mean, he can actually start attacking with Goyf. True Name's just a 3-2, a 3-1 rather. So he really just needs another Goyf, and he doesn't need. He has to have Joe whiff on some action spells, which is why you really just need to stifle that. You can't let him Brainstorm.
Bernal draws a card for the turn.
And it's a good one. Now he can cast, it's a Swords to Plowshare.
Start attacking.
So you can cast Swords to Plowshare, start attacking, and he still has 5 mana up now. So he can actually hard cast the Force of Will in his hand.
It's a real good turn. Man's going to gain a bunch of life, but Bernal doesn't seem to mind. We're getting in the red zone. Our bolt's going to start going towards creatures.
Yeah, I think you have to deal with
kill
it.
Kill the Snapcaster Mage. You got Joe Bernal. He wasn't in the driver's seat before. I feel like he is now.
Yeah, with Force of Will. Plus a True Name Nemesis able to attack now. Steven doesn't have any threats, so even if he does draw a threat, a couple more attacks with the True Name Nemesis, and he's going to win the race regardless.
Man draws his card for the turn. It's a copy of Ponder. That'll give him some looks and some fresh action, so he'll use the Volcanic Island to do that. Bernal, see if he lets this resolve, and he does. So Man will take a look at 3 cards here. See if he can find anything that helps him. As you do see True Name Nemesis, the card that's been causing a lot of problems since it was released in Legacy.
True Name Nemesis really just very split opinions on this card throughout the Legacy community.
Yeah, I mean, some think it's fine, some think it's not. I mean, it's just the answers that you have to play to it, you have to get really creative.
Yeah.
I wish there was just a more common answer to a card like this, that's all.
I mean, I kind of like how format warping it is. I mean, this format's so much different now because of True Name Nemesis than it was like a year and a half ago.
That's true. I know you jumped on the True Name Nemesis bandwagon pretty early. Here's another Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, why not? Mini Progenitus? I'll take it.
Yeah, you're not hard to please. There's a counterspell. Can't spell pierce that one. Bernal gonna untap. He'll take a draw. In for 3 we go. Puts you down to 12.
4 more turns of this.
See if Bernal has a land to play in his hand. And he does. I mean, that allows him to play around Spell Pierce appropriately. So I like that play from Joe.
So Steven wasn't able to resolve one of his. Still desperately digging for a threat here. I think he needs to find one now in order for the race to be reasonable. But even still, because of the bolts in his hand. But yeah, even still, he's got to have. It's probably not going to resolve because of the Force of Will in Joe's hand.
Yeah. And the next threat, there's, I mean, and the next card that Joe deems worth countering will be countered. That's the thing.
Joe's going to counter any creature. Like, I think that's the only card he cares about.
Yeah.
Just doesn't want a creature to resolve.
I mean, there's a world where I could see him, maybe countering like a brainstorm or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that world does exist. It's not all that exciting, but I mean, Brainstorm's so powerful, I think it might be worth countering. You saw Mann pick up a copy of Pyroblast, just has to pass the turn back. Bernal quickly draws his card, sets it down, attacks for 3, passes the turn back. Because for Joe, there's not a lot that's going to change.
Yeah. Another Pyroblast here.
Yeah.
A lot of reactive spells in Steven's hand. None of them, unfortunately, can interact with True Name Nemesis.
Yeah. Joe, untap, draw, attack, go. Maybe play land. Maybe not. Yeah. Pluto Delta, your turn. It's pretty simple.
Wow.
There's a wasteland there for Mann. He's going to drop the cards on the table. Joe Bernal's going to do it over Steven Mann. 2-0. Seems like a very, very difficult matchup for the Star City Games Legacy Open champion from earlier this year. Joe Bernal's going to move on to the finals. He's playing against Riley Curran. Combo Elves versus Esper Stoneblade is where we're going to be in the finals. And if you are Riley Curran, you cannot be pleased with that result.
Yeah, if Joe Bernal's list, I think, is just too well positioned for this particular matchup. You gotta love Joe's chances in the finals.
Yeah. We're bringing it back to the booth here for you guys. Cedric Phillips, Osa Levidovic, Star City Games Open Series here in Indianapolis.